Welcome to the Kyle Olson Show. The left's cultural cleansing continues this Independence Day. This week, they set their sights on an emancipation memorial in Washington, D.C., depicting a freed black man rising. He is on one knee, and President Abraham Lincoln is standing above him, so of course, leftists see him as being oppressed. Here is Marcia Cole of Female Reenactors of Distinction, or FREED, explaining the statue.
People tend to think of that figure as being servile, but through a second look, you will see something different perhaps. That man is not kneeling on two knees with his head bowed. He is in the act of getting up, and his head is up, not bowed, because he's looking forward to a future of freedom. People have said, well, he's chained to Mr. Lincoln. Closer look, you will see that while there's a shackle on his right hand, he is holding the end of a broken chain, which means he has taken his freedom. He now realizes he's free. So I say, leave it, let it stand.
Marcia Cole is a reenactor of Charlotte Scott, a former slave who gave the first $5 she made as a free woman to kick off a fundraising campaign to build the monument. There was a protest there where agitators from Black Lives Matter and Antifa vowed to tear it down. My colleagues at Breitbart News spoke to Cedric Turner, who said his great-great-great-grandfather is depicted in the statue. Listen to this.
This man is an inspirer. He's not a destroyer. If you want to do something about this man, what you should do is take his ancestor, Muhammad Ali, take the money that you want to make a bill to get rid of him, put it and erect a statue of the greatest of them all right there, and bring it into the perspective of the American tradition, of American history, to show that we've come from there to here. That's how you do it. You don't burn, you don't destroy, you build.
This is where we're at in America right now.
I, in fact, was going to get between the protesters and that statue if I had to bleed to do so, because I'm doing it for my grandchildren. I have 3 grandchildren, 1 son. I'm doing it not only for them, I'm doing it for the black. I'm trying to maintain our history. I'm trying to maintain our history and trying to build up, because too much of our history has been destroyed, been redacted.
Cedric Turner touched on something that I think is very profound. Listen to this.
Betsy Alexander Greyhouse and the pride she instilled in every last one of her children. And her daughter, who had 12 children, and out of those 12 children that her daughter had, one of them had Muhammad Ali, Cassius Marcellus Clay. Now that's a legacy that they would no sooner burn for whatever reason. You know, I pray and hope that 200 years from now, that the Black Lives Matter movement won't be treated the same way that movement was treated, because that was the Black Lives Matter movement. Black Lives Matter movement back at 144 years ago.
We don't teach enough about our history, and not just national history, but state history, local history, our family's history. I think when you know your history, you find a sense of pride and understanding of where you came from. If you understand why that building was built, or the legacy of who is depicted in that memorial or statue, you appreciate it more. Cedric Turner finds pride in that statue because he says it's his ancestor. He's willing to spill his own blood to defend it. Marcia Cole finds pride in representing the woman who gave her first $5 in freedom to build it. Don't expect Democrats to defend our history. Where is this destruction happening? San Francisco, Portland, Chicago, New York, Washington, D.C., bastions of progressivism. Leaders in those cities are ashamed of America and hate our history. If it can be torn down, especially by somebody else, they can revise it all the more. Consider this tweet from the Democratic National Committee. The DNC shared on Twitter a foreign news source, The Guardian, saying some Native Americans were unhappy that there was going to be a fireworks display at Mount Rushmore and that President Trump would be attending. Here's the tweet. Trump has disrespected Native communities time and again. He's attempted to limit their voting rights and block critical pandemic relief. Now he's holding a rally glorifying white supremacy at Mount Rushmore, a region once sacred to tribal communities. Glorifying white supremacy at Mount Rushmore. The tweet ended up being deleted. I'm not sure why. It's what progressives believe. The mask slipped, and they said it. The cultural cleansing launched by the radical left, or should I say the mainstream left at this point, is real. The Emancipation Monument I talked about earlier is now surrounded by fencing so the crazies can't tear it down. Is that just the way it's going to be? Is that the way we want to live? I read a piece this week titled, "We're in a Cultural Civil War. It's time for conservatives to fight back," by John Daniel Davidson at The Federalist. He ended it this way in a section titled, "America Hangs in the Balance." Quote, "It's up to every one of us in our towns and cities and communities to pressure our local officials to enforce the law and stop the bedlam. We have to demand it. We have to insist on law and order, insist on due process, insist on equal treatment under the law. These are bedrock American principles, and we have the majority and bipartisan support across the country. At least for now, we can be confident of that. We also have to be optimistic about our country and our institutions. We have to be energetic and creative. We have to defend our founding principles unapologetically. America is the greatest country on earth where liberty and prosperity and equality have blossomed as never before in human history. We can recognize our faults and shortcomings without apologizing for all we have achieved. We can defend what is necessary and what is best without giving 1 inch to the radicals who deny the promise of America's founding and want to see it transformed into something unrecognizable. We had better do so, and quickly. The future of the American Republic depends on it." Those are the words of John Daniel Davidson, political editor at The Federalist. And yes, it does. In Ottawa County's Allendale Township, leftists have demanded a Civil War statue depicting Union and Confederate soldiers and a freed slave child be torn down. A group called the Michigan Association of Civil Rights Activists, headed by a guy who moved to West Michigan from Hawaii in 2014, is leading the charge. Here's Mitch Cayley addressing the Township Board on Tuesday before they voted to keep it.
We all know, you know, everybody on this board knows, I know, everybody here knows. It's not a matter of if that statue's coming down, it's when it's coming down. We know it's coming down. So you can vote, do the right thing, the moral, ethical thing, to take that racist image out of your garden of honor, or you can vote to keep it. And it's up to you. You're the people in charge of the government speech that's over here on your property. It's not art, it's government speech. And you decided to speak and honor Confederate soldiers and to demean African Americans with your government speech. And so we're here just to say to you that it's not a matter of if, but when. It's coming down. And if you want to be repeating these meetings over and over, and you want to have more and more protests with larger and larger crowds of people right here in town, then vote to keep it up, because that's what's going to happen.
What a bully. The local community, where he doesn't even live, won't bend to his demands, so he's threatening them. We know it's coming down, he warned the board from the, quote, little town. His buddies in Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and the other anarcho-communists will see to that. This is the cultural civil war we're in. So Americans are being asked this Independence Day, where do you stand? That's a question that will be answered on November 3rd. This is the Kyle Olson Show. We'll be right back.